Aiden's story needs to be heard. He needs to be heard.
I feel like he is kind of pushing it away, like...
Yeah. Make it known.
The investigation into why 2 teens from Merrill died last spring is closed. There are a lot of unanswered questions since 2 teens got lost in the Oneida County forest near where Oneida, Lincoln, and Langlade County lines meet. Here's what we knew back in April. 17-year-old Aiden Griefey and 16-year-old Dakota Brown got lost after a party. The party was on Saturday, April 15th, and they got lost in the woods on Sunday morning. Their bodies were found on a trail about a day and a half later on Monday. 7 Investigates Emily Davies analyzed records and spoke with dozens of people to bring us what happened.
Since Aiden and Dakota disappeared, several people with knowledge of the search came to us wanting answers. We reached out to both families. The Griefeys are sharing Aiden's story in an interview. Dakota's mom told us, quote, "Dakota was the light of our world and the most loving, kind-hearted person we have known. We want to thank the entire community for their ongoing support during this difficult time," end quote. We spoke with her dad's family saying, quote, "It was a tragic situation for all to lose Dakota, our free-spirited young woman with many dreams of traveling. We hope she is seeing the world from above and smiling down on those she loved. Our family is heartbroken and healing at this time," end quote.
How do you sum up the pieces of a person's life?
There's so many.
Mom, Rachel Griefey.
He was always the jokester.
And Aunt Brianna Shear.
And definitely very selfless.
Give it their best describing Aiden Griefey.
And he was a mama's boy.
Big time.
Mm-hmm. They're surrounded by representations of his life lived.
Aiden loved skateboarding. Absolutely loved skateboarding.
And the life he had yet to live.
There's paperwork in his backpack that I was supposed to sign that day. The Friday before. For his early graduation that I didn't get to even sign.
That Saturday night, April 15th, Aiden had been at a party with roughly 60 other people in a remote area on the border of Lincoln and Oneida counties.
Now we're going to be plunging. Temperatures tomorrow afternoon, only in the upper 30s, about 45 degrees colder.
By the time the teens woke up Sunday morning, it was raining, but it was quickly turning to snow, with conditions expected to worsen as the day went on. Dakota had lost her phone overnight. Aiden offered to help her look. It was around 8 Sunday morning. He called his mom.
He was going to go help them find them. Then he was going to drop some people off, and then he'd be on his way home. And he told me he loved me. And I told him I loved him.
Another friend initially joined the search for the phone, just behind them. The 3 followed trails behind the cabin. Just before the trail forked into 3,
this young man said, "I don't think that you would have gone this far away from the cabin at night to go to the bathroom, and the trail is ending. I think we should go back." He returned back to the cabin. They continued on. Why they continued on, we don't know.
Meanwhile, others found Dakota's phone down the driveway. The friend who initially went on the trail went back to see where they had gone. He saw tracks in the snow heading north towards Shingle Mill Road, but he says the trail eventually turned into just dense woods. Around 8:30, a trail cam captured the 2 walking west towards State Road 17. By 9, an hour after Aiden and Dakota had left, Aiden called friends saying they were lost.
When he was talking to friends, he kind of laughed it off and said that I was lost. I'm on a dirt road.
His grandma called around 9:30.
She said he sounded very chipper, he was in a great mood, and then just had told her, "My phone's about to die, I will call you later."
He kept in contact with his friends through about 10 o'clock, sending his location to them through Snapchat. His friends told law enforcement they drove down Shingle Mill honking and yelling for them, but heard and saw nothing. Release of his Snapchat location information after the fact shows the 2 kept walking. Friends reached out to Aiden's little brother, who told his mom. She left for the cabin to talk with the kids.
I said, well, I'm going to call 911 because I don't know this area, and it's been 4 hours, and the weather's not going to get any better.
Missing person out in the woods up there. I'm going to start heading up.
At 12:47, she called 911. With the location at the far edge of the county, the first deputy showed up just under an hour later.
I showed him my Life 360 where Aiden's phone last pinged and said it died. So then he drove down to Shingle Mill Road and did what he could. He came back and he said, "I'm going to call others in because I'm going to need a 4-wheeler.
It's pretty close to the Oneida County line. Would you like me to notify them?
Affirmative, if you would, please.
He just kind of kept going back and forth, and I kept just hoping to see them in the back of the squad car every time he came back, and obviously that never happened.
We pick this story back up with law enforcement search efforts when we come back. As law enforcement continued searching for Merrill teens Aiden Griefey and Dakota Brown, we pick this story back up with rescue efforts to find them.
It is dense forest.
Mostly UTV trails, walking trails.
While the case started in Lincoln County, most of the search area was Oneida.
We started covering the main roads and trails.
Around 2 p.m. Sunday, they learned through Cellcom Aiden's last cell ping before his phone died put him in the area between the Enterprise Campground and South Exit Road, possibly on the East Loop ATV trail. They also confirmed Dakota was with Aiden.
Got some tracks look kind of fresh going north. I'm going to go north.
Deputies knocked on neighbors' doors, attempted to fly heat-sensing drones, and between roughly 3 and 4:15,
anybody with an ATV that could assist in that ground search.
They requested more assistance from the DNR and Pelican Lake Fire District. Around 3:45,
Oneida dispatch to Newbold Fire. Newbold search and rescue is being requested.
Newbold responded with 4 tracking canines along with off-road vehicles and heat-sensing tools. Deputies interviewed people who were at the party, with some noting frustration with several teens, believing they weren't being fully truthful.
It was clear that the primary concern was to make sure that nobody got in trouble.
One of the friends had been logging into Dakota's Snapchat during this time, too. While deputies suspected from prior knowledge of Snapchat that it wasn't Dakota, they still had to check it out.
We're getting information that they possibly got in a car, they might be in another, jurisdiction.
These were things that took us away from searching the woods and gave us more belief that they were not in the woods.
In the meantime, more agencies were called in. Ultimately, crews searched 6 square miles over Sunday and Monday. About 5 p.m. Sunday, the K9 teams were tracking. These colored lines are the tracks and travel from each canine's GPS collars. 3 canines separately tracked from the cabin Ada and Dakota left here. Another 3 tracked further south where footprints had been found. And another from the last known cell phone location. 3 tracks indicated the teens had been on Highway 17. It turns out the teens were no longer near the areas they were searching. They were found about a half mile and a mile south of the blue track search area. But on Sunday around 8 p.m., the search was suspended.
They did not stop searching, but as far as having all the resources and the massive amount of people out there, like that part of it was going to be called off because it was not effective at that point.
He told 7 Investigates with no more leads, where do you search next? They also noted weather conditions, battery levels for communication equipment draining in the cold, air support grounded, exhaustion and safety for crews, and other emergency calls requiring the response.
I wanted to go out there. We all wanted to go out there, but they wouldn't allow us. You guys are going to get lost.
At this point, Aiden and Dakota had been missing for 12 hours.
So when she called off the search, I was definitely very sick to my stomach.
Reports note a sergeant drove Shingle Mill again after midnight with his lights and sirens on and checked the buildings at the campground.
As soon as daylight hit, I told my dad, please take me out there. I don't know how many miles I went, but I just looked and I screamed.
It was about 10:30, 11 o'clock when teams went out again, searching and canvassing.
You had all night to establish a plan. Okay, what are we going to do as of daybreak?
I remember a detective, I don't know exactly who it was, that came up to me on Monday and he said, I know it looks like we're sitting around here doing nothing, but we are...
We're trying to plan who's going to go where.
Yeah, but it's like, this is...
time you're wasting.
We
just had a massive snowstorm through the night and you left them out there.
Law enforcement said sending crews out and having to pull them back after a plan is formed can actually cause more delays. They also noted they had a UTV breakdown, and 4 cars of people trying to search on their own got stuck, blocking access to search crews. They also had to move command posts twice due to the influx of people. Around 2 o'clock Monday, they paged out for more fire departments to assist with off-road vehicles. By 3:30, Dakota was found in front of a trail sign on the East Loop, about 4 miles through trails from the cabin she left.
He said there was 2 sets of tracks coming in to where she was, but 1 set of tracks leading. And so Aiden is still out there, and I remember us at that point like, oh my gosh. But gosh, when they left again, they were gone for so long. And then they pulled us to a vehicle again, and we knew.
About 5:15, further north on the trail, they found Aiden. The evidence suggests they died late Sunday or early Monday.
It does look like Dakota did pass first, and it does look like Aiden did try and help her.
So how do you summarize a life? A free spirit? A caring friend?
Is there anything you would hope and love to tell Aiden? Sorry I didn't tell them to not stop. And I love you. And I miss you.
You likely have more questions that aren't answered. We have more details of the search timeline at WSAW.com. Tomorrow, we continue to look into opportunities for potential different outcomes and how to hopefully prevent something like this as much as possible.
After the bodies of 2 teens from Merrill were recovered in the Oneida County forest, the families expected the investigation into what happened to them to take some time. Now those details are coming to light. 7 Investigates Emily Davies has been analyzing records and talking with those involved. Emily, one family had an interesting interaction after their child was found, correct?
Yeah, Cassandra, it was an interesting interaction for both Aiden Griefey's family and law enforcement. 17-year-old Griefey and 16-year-old Dakota Brown were found dead a day and a half after getting lost in the woods in April. Griefey's phone was not on him when he was found. 8 days after they were found, the Griefey family went out there and found items of both Aiden and Dakota, including Dakota's shoe and her bracelets, along with Aiden's hat. The next day, detectives went out to the scene and said it was clear people had been there.
We're interfering with your investigation? That's what they said, that I was interfering with their investigation.
But nobody ever told her not to go out there.
I don't want them to feel as though we're accusing them of doing anything wrong, but we need to have questions answered as to why these items were picked up and we weren't notified.
We knew we wanted the cell phone, and now it became a delicate approach to say, did you guys find the cell phone while you were out there? So there wasn't any intent to blame the family.
On the phone is Randy Rouleau. He is a former investigator with the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and is the one who had this interaction with the family after he says they were surprised anyone had been to the scenes. Between him and the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office's response, they said the reason it took so long to get out there was that they had other time-sensitive elements of the case like digital warrants and autopsies. They didn't have the staffing to secure the scene of the party and 2 death scenes. The snow was deep when they were found too, concealing some of the items. They wanted to wait for it to melt. The Griefey said they did not find Aiden's cell phone. Tonight at 10, we'll look at the opportunities to potentially find the teens sooner or prevent the situation in the first place.
I was putting my trust into them. Although in the back of my head, I felt it wasn't right, but I just didn't know what to do.
No one wants to see people go missing and not return alive. The efforts to find 17-year-old Aiden Griefey and 16-year-old Dakota Brown last spring, north of Merrill, hit families, friends, and first responders physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Since they were found dead a day and a half after getting lost in the Enterprise block of the Oneida County Forest, 7 Investigates has been getting requests to look into what happened. Our Emily Davies explains.
During the search and after Aiden and Dakota were found, we had questions. You had questions. We wanted to understand what happened and if this could be prevented in the future. Then individuals with direct knowledge of the search efforts began to share their experiences and questions with us too.
He would always tell them, be good to your mom. You never know. Be good to your mom.
Mom, Rachel Griefey, and Aunt Brianna Shear describe Aiden Griefey as a spirited, funny person who always was looking to help others.
Knowing how he thinks of other people so much before himself, we wouldn't want to see that happen again.
No.
It's why they decided to share their experience, Aiden's story.
I feel like he is kind of pushing it away, like...
Yeah. Make it known.
As we look back at how we got here, reviewing dozens of reports, speaking to at least a dozen more people, analyzing timelines, and accounting for the numerous factors involved in that April day, there is no one single place to lay blame. Instead, there are a series of opportunities missed by a variety of people. To begin, the party places them in the forest on the far edge of the county. The weather plunging from 80 and sunny to below freezing and snowy with high winds are obstacles in themselves.
We've all been teenagers. You don't think of the consequences. You don't think this could happen to me. You don't think of the weather. I want kids to know that you need to consider everything.
It put them at grave risk of hypothermia, which is ultimately what killed them.
Your blood vessels are dilating, you're losing more and more heat, and you just can't regulate anything, and eventually, your body systems start to slow down, your heart rate slows down, you're not able to breathe as easy, you get confused, you're not getting the action like you need in order for your brain to function, and eventually you do pass if you have enough exposure time.
The coroner calculated that with the levels at their times of death, they both still had alcohol in their system well above 0.08 when they left to search for Dakota's missing phone at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. Alcohol exacerbates the impacts from hypothermia, thinning the blood, but people can get a sense of warmth because it also dilates blood vessels, releasing heat from the body.
You're going to get colder faster, and then the confusion on top of the alcohol, and then you're going to get more confusion on top of the hypothermia, so you're not able to make adequate decisions on top of it too, so it all plays a factor.
Numerous people told us that forest is easy to get lost in. The signs at the entrance warn about the lack of signage. When 7 investigators went to the scenes on a warm, clear November day, it took us a little while to figure out which trails we were on.
I've hunted down there for years. I myself have been turned around back there. You're looking at the topography. It goes from hilly to dense swamp with all the downfalls of trees.
Unfortunately, they didn't stop walking when sending their friends their location that morning. Their friends say they drove Shingle Mill Road searching for them, honking their horns and yelling. None of the teens called 911. They had been missing for 4 hours before Aiden's mom was called. She called 911 shortly after arriving, but it took time to get there, and it took time for the first deputy to arrive for the same reason.
We had a almost 5-hour delay from when they left until we were notified on Sunday, which, given the weather, did not help things.
Could they have been found sooner? That is the question.
We attempt to answer that question after the break. Two teens from Merrill were missing for a day and a half before they were found dead. The question is, could they have been found sooner?
Searching for missing people is a relatively common task for first responders.
A simple underage drinking party with a couple kids lost. That's what it started off as. This is a simple thing that we deal with, right? And then it got more complex.
Within 10 minutes of the first deputy arriving, more were requested, including on night.
It's not a daily occurrence that we call each other and ask for that kind of assistance. The processes were in place and evolving as the information was coming in.
Only people scheduled to work that day were requested to support, but most, if not all, of Lincoln County's patrol staff responded Sunday. Some searched, others knocked on neighbors' doors, followed up on tips and reported sightings, or interviewed people. A couple of hours later, the DNR, emergency management, 3 fire departments, air support, and tracking canines were called in. Of course, we know how this effort ends. The search was suspended, or in some people's perception, canceled overnight. It resumed Monday with teams getting out into the woods late morning until Aiden and Dakota were found.
Could they have been found sooner? That is the question.
Randy Rouleau was the sergeant investigator of the case, working to figure out what caused the teens' deaths. He only agreed to interview with us over the phone.
I can look at it and say, do I believe some missteps occurred here? Yes.
About a month after the teens were found, he quit. Part of the reason, he says, is a difference in opinion between him and the agency about his findings.
I said I believe my investigation, a portion of this shows that law enforcement dropped the ball here.
Aiden and Dakota were not dating, but one theory during the search was that they didn't want to be found.
The information that everybody relied on to conclude the search, her Snapchat account, the pings of Aiden's cell phone, and canine tracking, which led everybody to say they're no longer here. They left.
I can tell you there's a bazillion thoughts that came out at the command post on Monday. A lot of different ideas, and that's a good thing. Do we utilize every idea? No.
With deteriorating weather conditions and considerations for search crews' health and safety, one deputy made it clear to the Griefies that that theory won for the night.
I've been doing this for 25 years, and I'll admit when I'm wrong, but they're not out here. and I knew in my heart that she was wrong.
Law enforcement had information that they misinterpreted. Law enforcement failed to rely on the Detective Bureau to further assist in the search efforts.
That's assuming Sheriff's Office detectives would have interpreted those puzzle pieces correctly. Just after the search was called Sunday night, 6 fresh members of the Trail Ambassadors arrived, but were told to come back in the morning. Rouleau says there was no plan being formed overnight to allow a coordinated search to start at sunrise. He says command on Monday was caught by surprise.
There was no communications between the night shift patrol to the day shift patrol to continue this.
The sheriff's offices say Monday morning a new lieutenant did coordinate with the night shift patrol and the emergency management coordinator to create a plan.
He worked with the information that he had and then started getting assets going, and he was coordinating with Oneida County. So if there was time delays, I don't know what those were.
Some of that's waiting for your assets to regather and come back.
Since it's unclear exactly when Dakota and Aiden died, we'll never know if they could have been found alive with any of the suggested changes. Both Lieutenant Burkhart and Captain Young, who were not asked to respond on Sunday, say search crews can only work with the information they have.
You're getting all of your puzzle pieces and then trying to put them together. Whereas the further time goes on, you can take a look at that whole puzzle and you can see more clearly what the picture is and what you need to do.
There was no formal debrief, but both Burkhart and Young said they each talked with their teams about what they could do better.
You know, what information we got together, and is there anything we could do different?
And I guess, what did you guys identify? Tyler. Can I talk to Tyler for 1 second, please?
After that question, Oneida County asked to stop the interview for a discussion outside. Young returned and answered what could have been done differently.
We didn't come across any significant failures. Again, this is a situation where some people made some decisions, poor decisions, and they had tragic consequence. The law enforcement and first responders have to respond to people's choices that sometimes end in tragedy. That's what we discovered.
In law enforcement, I find that it's very results-based. If Aiden and Dakota would have been found elsewhere or found in the woods alive, nobody would be criticizing us. We strive to each time do better. And I stick to that. I think that we didn't do anything wrong, but there is room for improvement.
What personally I would have done differently is told them they couldn't stop, and I didn't say that. So that is going to haunt me probably for the rest of my life.
Lincoln County Sheriff Ken Schneider declined to be interviewed for this story. He said he would respond to some questions over email, but has yet to do so. Rouleau sent an email to the entire department saying this was the sheriff's circus, his mess to clean up, and that he was done. After he was placed on administrative leave, Rouleau reached an agreement with the county in October to resign. A request for Rouleau's report was denied because it's considered a draft and does not meet the definition of a public record. It's a draft because he technically quit before it was fully completed. Tomorrow, we look ahead at changes happening out of this tragedy.
If we can prevent another death from happening, I want to make that happen.
People from all over Lincoln and Oneida counties are looking at ways to change. 7 Investigates' Emily Davies has spoken with fire departments, sheriff's offices, the coroners, family members, and shares what they hope to see moving forward. Emily?
Dale, in Wisconsin, when it comes to search and rescue, it's up to each local jurisdiction to support the training and the funding to grow skills and tools. Unlike other emergency situations, there aren't requirements to train or provide equipment. In speaking with Wisconsin Emergency Management, they're there to facilitate contacting resources that are often volunteer through associations or agencies that choose to make search and rescue a priority.
Aiden and I had good communication.
There's nothing that can bring Aiden Griefy or Dakota Brown back.
Keep your communication open, and I am glad that that's what I had with my son. I have no regrets there.
But as thoughts swirl since the day they were found,
what can we do to prevent something like this from happening again?
Lincoln County Coroner Valerie Kaler says she'll start up a death review team in 2024. It would bring in agencies like law enforcement, hospitals, social services, and schools to work together to review cases like child deaths, suicides, overdoses, and deadly car crashes.
What can we do to educate the public of making sure that you're always prepared for an emergency to happen, especially out in the woods.
That kind of education is something Griefy is encouraging too.
Aiden wasn't an avid hunter. If you're not that type of kid, you still should learn survival skills.
She says depending upon where Aiden and Dakota all traveled, they may have had opportunities to break into some cabins to keep themselves out of the elements, but maybe they were worried about getting in trouble. That's an element the coroner and law enforcement keyed in on too.
Law enforcement is not here for a sole purpose of getting people in trouble. We need to be able to get help when we need help, and you need to be able to call us.
Detective Lieutenant Brian Burkhart says that lesson is partly why no one was charged or cited in Aiden and Dakota's deaths.
What is the greater need of the investigation? And the greater need was to find these two.
Burkhart says another thing he's focusing on improving is better communication.
I don't have any reception back here.
In this case, cell service was poor. Different jurisdictions and agencies use different codes and languages, and putting too many people on one radio channel can clog up the airwaves. So a lot of communication was in person or through dispatch.
You're spending a lot of time on the phone and then relaying information in whatever way is the most efficient.
He's since learned cell companies can send cell boosters to increase service.
There are many amateur emergency radio services, ham radio operators that meet as groups. Northwoods Aries up here is very active, but also not called out much.
Newbold Fire Department is known for its search and rescue resources. Lieutenant Janet Seifert says Wisconsin can improve the awareness of what resources are available around the state.
Our team puts hours and hours in, just different weather conditions, different ages of tracks.
Find it.
Newbold trains with their tracking trailing canine team weekly.
I'll give my dog your scent and you'll be in a lineup with a bunch of other people and we'll go see if the dog's hitting the right person. We'll go through the woods or the grass. We'll go over gravel. A dog is going to behave differently with the odor, and the odor is going to move in the environment differently with the weather conditions, traffic going by, and all those things.
Work it out.
They train with their human and mechanical resources too. Fire departments often have more training and assets for search and rescue than law enforcement.
A lot of search teams that do this on their own have a much more of a struggle because they have to go acquire a lot of that stuff, and where ours is already available.
Despite the resources and expertise, when it comes to search and rescue under Wisconsin law, it's law enforcement that leads the scene.
If we have something that we feel can contribute and offer, or a suggestion of a resource, we try to give that.
They can only work with what information they're given by the lead agency. The more they know, the better suggestions they can offer.
We're a tool and toolbox, and we show up if they choose to use us.
They, like other fire departments we spoke with, say it's up to law enforcement to determine what is needed for a given situation. Several fire departments around the area where the April search happened told 7 Investigates they heard what was happening over the radio and prepared to assist, but weren't called in either at all or weren't called in until Monday, when they knew it would be a recovery rather than a rescue. Several fire departments say there needs to be more training that involves law enforcement, county emergency management, and even civilians, because that training does not happen very often. And if you're a civilian or an agency with little or no training, but you want to be able to help in search and rescue scenarios, Seifert says there are fun ways to build up skills, like geocaching.
It allows you to use your phone or your GPS and follow coordinates and actually do some searching for things.
We had so many people, friends, neighbors, strangers, help with Aiden and Dakota. And my promise is that I will do the same for the rest of my life when there's somebody missing.
The Lincoln County Death Review Team is set to start meeting in January. Various fire departments told me they are working on ways to coordinate larger training events. As for any changes in training or policy from law enforcement, other than working on the Death Review Team and communications, I did not hear back from the Lincoln County Sheriff about any planned changes.
If you missed the timeline of what happened back on April 16th and the 17th, or the opportunities for different outcomes, you can go to our website right now, WSAW.com, and you can see all of the coverage that Emily has provided for us and what has happened in this terrible tragedy. You can find all of that right now live on our website.